Hello, I'm W.T. Edmondson and welcome to Focus. Freedom often causes unbelievable silence. Well, we have a group of young people here with us in the studio today. They're basically observing TV production. They are from Second Baptist Church, and we're going to be talking with the co-directors of the Youth Mission there at Second Baptist Church, Donnell Young and Morgan Young. So let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about who are you?
Okay.
Tell us, who are you?
Okay. I'll let my wife go first.
Well, like you said, Morgan Young. I am from the Jefferson City area. Went to middle school here in town, graduated from the high school, and felt from my experience at the high school that I wanted to go off to college at an HBCU. So I selected Jackson State, went to Jackson State in Mississippi for 4 years and majored in journalism, and then came back home to be back here in Jeff City. I've gone to Second Baptist since I was in middle school, so I've kind of been steeped in the church here in the community, and I work for the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Service. I'm a social media manager, so I do a lot with Twitter and Facebook for the department.
Okay. And I'm Donnell Young. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri, born and raised. I played sports all throughout high school, and that was sadly my goal was to play sports professionally, but I was also a very good student as well, so I never wavered in my academics. And then probably about my sophomore year of college, I realized that sports is not going to make it for me, so I need to focus on my academics. So I always was interested in the law, education, the criminal justice system. So I started out UMKC on a track scholarship, wanted to play basketball. When that didn't pan out, I decided I needed to get away from Kansas City with a lot of kind of family turmoil and drama in the city. I was ready to move. So I wanted to go to a historically black college. I didn't want to go too far from Kansas City, so I picked Lincoln University, had a great experience, finished with my undergraduate degree in criminal justice and my master's in criminal justice and sociology. Ever since I was here, I was born in a church, raised in a church. Parents made me go to church when I didn't want to go. Aunt made me go when my parents wasn't there to go, so that was a blessing for me. Started going to Second Baptist when I was a student at Lincoln. Just completed my JD from the University of Missouri's School of Law, and I'm currently the Director of Academic Retention Services at the University of Missouri, Columbia.
Well, congratulations on your law degree.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, you're the co-directors of the youth ministry at Second Baptist. Awesome task. Mm-hmm. Tell me, why did you feel it important for you to step into that role?
I think it goes back to, was it 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, we went to, with Mortgage Job, we went up to the Black Caucus in St. Louis, and this was even before, had to be 2 years ago because it was before Michael Brown. And we sat there and we watched and we observed and we noticed how much stuff wasn't getting done in the community and how the youth were suffering. So we came back and we developed a plan to work with the youth. We wasn't even thinking about youth mission, we were just thinking about how can we work kind of through the city too. We were thinking about how we can get more supplies to high schools, how can we help the youth. So we sat on it. We were, you go to a conference, you energize, you write everything you're gonna do. We mapped out, we had meetings for a couple months, and then work got us. We started working, and again, it wasn't like it wasn't important, but we got busy with work. So when we had youth mission directors, and most recently in the last couple months resigned, we sat and talked. We said, hey, we talked about this a couple years about our passion in helping the youth. This is opportunity, this is God's sign saying, hey, you said you wanted to do it outside of youth mission, why not do it through youth mission? So we prayed about it, we made the decision, and we called Pastor Sutter, said, hey, we're interested, we know it's gonna be work, but we're excited, we love working with young people. And I'm a father of 2 young boys, so again, that's my life, is just kind of grooming young folks to be successful.
What about you?
Well, everything he said is true. We did go to the Black Caucus Conference in St. Louis, and this was before the incident with Michael Brown, and we just felt like, we're very active in the community anyway, but we just felt like we weren't doing as much as we could be doing. And I know from my experience here at the high school, as an African American girl in a predominantly white high school, I felt like you needed that extra reinforcement. My parents did give that to me, but when I went to an HBCU, it was just mind-blowing. So my call to work with the youth was to tell them, hey, it's okay to grow up here in Jefferson City and to be comfortable in your skin and to go out into the community wherever you go and just step into who you're supposed to be.
Great, great. Stepping into who you are. What does that mean to a young person? Break it down.
That's a really good question. For me, I know a woman's not supposed to tell her age. I'm 34 and I'm still learning what that means. For a while, I had to pray about what I wanted to be in life, and I'm still figuring that out. And I still have to pray on a daily basis to say, hey, you know, God, where do you want me to be? But I think stepping into who you are is becoming comfortable with who God made you to be. We're all individuals and we're all unique, and we're not supposed to be alike. I mean, you may have different similarities where you like the same thing, but you need to be yourself, because there's so many other different people out there that are striving to be like other people. But, you know, there's no one, you know, that's just a one-of-a-kind model, just like the individual person.
Yeah. What do you see as your role and responsibility as a youth director? What is your role and responsibility to the youth?
I think that's powerful. And just, I guess, to piggyback on what Morgan just said, I think as I got older, I didn't realize you're more intelligent when you realize what you don't know. And I think with all the negative media attention and the devaluation of the black body, it's been happening, but it's just with social media, it's more out there for the youth to see. It's important for us to tell them that you are black, you are beautiful, you are intelligent, you can be whatever you want to be. Life is going to be tough, and that's not sugarcoating it. They say there's going to be roadblocks, there's going to be hurdles, there's going to be challenges. Currently at work, I'm working with a lot of underrepresented minorities that struggled the first year academically because Mizzou's structure is not set up for all folks. So I had to let them know, hey, I struggled my first semester when I went to college. I wasn't prepared, but I worked my butt off, and look where I'm at now. So you can do it too. So I have to. You always have to. That constant reminder and encouragement that you can be successful is important, because they have doubts because of the media's the media's portrayal of the black life. So it's very important that we, as young black folks, are encouraging that you can do it. We've been there. We've had those roadblocks. We've had people call us negative names. We had people not believe in us. We had people tell us we can't do it. You keep working, you keep fighting, you keep God first, you're going to be okay. So it's important for us to do it, because, again, it's not enough of us in the community working with them. And for me, growing up in the church, like I said, when I was younger, I didn't get it. I hated it when I was happy when my mother had to work on Sundays, because I thought I was out of church. I was like, I had to go. Then my aunt's pulling up, and it stuck with me. It stuck with me when I got old enough to drive myself. I started going to church, because it was I just did not feel right when I wasn't getting spiritually fed. So again, that's the conversations that we need to have with our youth. It's powerful. I mean, there's going to be struggles, but keep God first, and you're going to be okay. You can be successful. Don't let anyone tell you can't do something. Just keep working, keep fighting.
Okay. Thinking about the impact that an adult can have on young people, what impact do you seek to have on the young people that you will be working with?
That's a really good question. Of course, we want it to be positive. My goal is to impart upon them, once they leave this area, that, you know, they had positive role models who constantly built them up and gave them positive reinforcement and supported them, whether they had extracurricular activities in school. If they had a football game or a basketball game, they looked up and they saw us there. Just to know that somebody is there to support them. They've got a cheerleader to, you know, egg them on and say, hey, you can do this, you know, you can go and do some of the same stuff that I've done, or even go on and do more than I've done. But that's what I want my role to be. I want to be a role model. I want them to know that there are successful African-American young people and older people out there who have paved the way for them to go on and do great things, and they ought to capitalize on those opportunities.
I think you can't take anything like this lightly. For me, I'm the hardest critic of myself. So before we did this, I always questioned, am I the right person? Because I'm far from perfect. So I continue to pray that we are good examples. That's the first part, is being good examples for the youth. I mean, we can't be out doing a lot of negative things and not setting a good direction. So again, continue to pray that we are, living our life the way God wants us to lead. So that's the first part. The second part is, to me, is mentoring. Mentoring is powerful. I mean, they have great parents involved in their life, so that's a great start. But also, just again, from all the reading history, I'm a big history buff. It's just like when we were segregated, you had all the powerful black people in the community. You had the judge, you had the doctor, you had the dentist, all in the community. So you saw black people being successful. Now that we are segregated, a lot of people move to different communities, so they don't see that successful person. Again, it's not to say we're successful, but again, it's to have more influence to say, hey, if I want to be a lawyer, I can do it because I've seen Donnell do it. He can do it. He's just like me. He's just like me. I can do it too. So just having those examples there, to just kind of just be positive. We can, again, it's some things they might not feel comfortable talking to the parents about. We're going to always say, hey, you need to go talk to your parents. But again, just having another older person just give them advice, because we need that. We all need mentorship. No matter how old you get, you should always be seeking someone that knows more information than you. I did it yesterday. I was sitting and talked to one of my mentors because I needed to figure out something. So you always got to constantly have someone to talk to.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about academics. Some of us grew up in families who were constantly on us about academics. Others may not be so. How do you go about encouraging young people to be about the business of academics, even though no one is telling you to do it every day? It's on you to make that a priority.
I always think back to my paternal grandmother. She is 106 years old, and she lives in Alabama, and she never had the opportunity to go to school. I mean, she worked as a housemaid, but she did not let that stop her from instilling in my uncles and my aunts and my cousins that they needed to go on and do better things. And looking at the progression of our family tree, just because she encouraged them to go to school and to go on to college. Our family we've accomplished people with master's degrees or bachelor's degrees, whereas about 50 to 60 years ago, we did good to even get out of middle school. So I always sit down and tell them, hey, there's somebody who's 106 years old who's seen so much, over the last few years, who didn't have the opportunity to go to school. So take advantage of what older people have done, the roads that they paid for you to go on and be successful and to have an education. And I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm. With your criminal justice background, observing what was going on since Ferguson, what advice do you give to young people as to how to interact not only with law enforcement, but their peers, people that they encounter on a day-to-day basis that may not always, agree? How do you go about telling young people there's always a tomorrow if you deal with that situation correctly?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very powerful. And being a product of Kansas City, me and my friend pulled over often for driving black in a nice neighborhood. And when I was younger, I didn't act the correct way. I would get loud. I would get pulled over and handcuffed, and they were trying to find anything they could to take us to jail because we were in that environment. I didn't respond well. Got me nothing but possibly going to jail. Luckily, that never happened. So the conversation I just had with my 16 and 14-year-old son just this weekend was this. I mean, you have to be intelligent. I know you might be angry. You may be pulled over for a reason that was not valid, but the reality is you got to be smart, because being smart will keep you alive. And that's what I'm first and foremost. I work at the university, and I used to work in the area of student conduct, so I have great relationships with university police. So there are some good police officers out there, so let me say that first and foremost. But with any population, there are some people out there that are not good people, and that's any percentage. Any group you think about, there's a percentage, and that percentage is the one that we're talking about. But you got to stay calm. You give them, the only thing for the law you have to do is give your name. Your name is what I think is pretty much what's required. You have to do that. Be polite, And anything that if there's disrespect, if there's anything that you feel like is going, I tell them to contact me or contact your parents, contact someone that can address it the next day. Because again, I'm not saying you lay down to someone disrespecting you just because they have a badge, but you got to outthink it. Are we writing letters to the mayor? Are we talking to our legislators? Are we rallying our churches? Are we being vocal? Are we peacefully protesting when things like this happen? So it can be highlighted. If it's one particular officer that's doing this all the time, let's have a voice to it. Let's bring change. But arguing, yelling, being combative with the police officer, it's a power differential that you're never going to win that situation. So just being calm, thinking through it is the best way to deal with these situations.
In our conversation with Reverend Gould earlier, we talk about the school system. And there's always opportunities for dialogue. There's two different types of dialogue, peaceful and not so peaceful. Going into the school system when you're going in to address some conflict that has transpired with your young person. Tell us a little bit about how you wish to talk to the young people about their demeanor, about how they deal with authority, how they deal with conflict, because those things are going to happen.
I believe that's going to happen. I think, to me, it's going a little further, too, because sometimes we focus on just the conflict. But there's what other issues are in place that we can prevent the conflict from happening. I think we need more time on that. Is there administrations that don't understand what the value of black lives are, multicultural lives are? They don't just understand. Are they setting rules in place for that conflict to happen? We have to address that. You got to get people that are knowledgeable about inclusivity. I mean, that's powerful. People do not understand what it's like to be in a brown or black body. So we need more people in the administration that understands that. But the conflict, sometimes, again, I'm a more laid back. I really want to kind of think through things, but everyone's not wired that way. And it's okay. Everyone's different. You have the right to be, sometimes being assertive get things done. I think you need both. I mean, so it depends on what the conflict is. But first and foremost, I always like to try to go in with a cooler head and try to figure out how can we prevent some of these conflicts from happening. Because I think a lot of times, like if you just think about Ferguson, there's a lot of things that could have been done on the front end that would have prevented Mike Brown from being killed. I think that just the devaluation of the black body, if more law enforcement valued the black body, I think that would have been a different situation. This person's life matter. I can't just pull a trigger and kill a person, is my opinion. So what can we do to make sure people understand the black body is powerful? And that's just not with white people, as well as all of us. We have to really value the black body. It's powerful, it's beautiful. Just because people tell you it's not valuable, that's not true. So I think a lot of those things need to go in place. We have to really start in the front end before the conflict occurs.
Okay. In closing, you've shared with us why you chose to take on this tremendous responsibility. What would you like one of these young people to be able to come back and say to you in 5-10 years?
That's a really good question. I would like for them to come back and say that this was a new experience that exposed me to something completely different. And one of our goals is not only to incorporate the religious aspect of Youth Mission, but we also want to expose them to different cultural things in the community. This was our first meeting of the year, and it was great to kick it off with something different that they had never even done before. And just like we were up in the control room a few minutes ago, and I was speaking with Reg Randall, and he does our audiovisual at church, and it was great for him to come here and to go up into the control room and actively just jump right into what, Mr. Gerhardt was telling him in the control room. So I think that's great. We want them to be able to connect experiences that they have at school or that they have at church and just apply that to and make it applicable to their real life situations, and that's kind of what I want them to get out of it.
What about you?
Same thing. I really want them to grow spiritually. I hope we can impart some information they didn't know. First and foremost, I just want them to be successful. I mean, it's not what they come back and say we did. Just as long as they've gone and done some great things, and we were a part of that would be great for me. And also, we want it to be more than just about spiritual, because all work and no play is not going to be successful for young folks. So we also want them to grow as young adults, too. If we can help them through some life situations, I think that's going to be powerful. Thank you for sharing this with us. I really needed to hear it, because oftentimes the parents are saying it. They're not listening to the parents. And it's the same thing with my boys. The next person comes up and says the exact same thing.
And it's believable.
It's believable.
Yeah.
It's believable. I'm working with my youngest son with basketball. I could tell him, I used to play basketball, do this. Next guy walks up, do it that way, he'll do it, and he'll listen. So that's part of it. It's just having the extra voice, saying the same message, being on the same page with the parents, helping them grow and mature and being successful. That's what I really want.
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming and sharing with us. I know this was kind of a not expected, but you did great.
Thank you.
We did want to have an opportunity for the young people to really learn a little bit about you. Sometimes, you know, we're thrown into positions and whoever we're working with don't know anything about
That's
us. So
true.
this is an opportunity for them to hear a little bit more about you and the people that they will be working with.
Thank you for the exposure,
you.
and thank you for giving them the experience to be in the control room and take part in tonight's taping. I think they greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. God bless.